Good afternoon. Did you have a heartwarming holiday? Christmas? Today, we will study about the first third of the adverb. A modal verb is the first third of the adverb. The modal verb describes the definition of the verb. The verb describes the subject, and the modal verb describes the definition of the verb. So the modal verb describes the subject indirectly. The modal verb is applied to complete the intention of the speaker who wants to describe the experience, condition, or action of the subject. The definition of the verb describes a part of the intention of the speaker, and the modal verb complement the definition of the verb to convey the perfect intention of the speaker. Let's start to study about the definition of the modal verb. The speaker applies a modal verb to describe an experience, a condition, or an action to the listeners according to the intention of the speaker. The definition of the modal verb signifies the perspective of the speaker about the experience, condition, or action indicated by a verb in a clause. Each modal verb has its own definition, and the definition of the modal verb reveals the perspective of the speaker about the experience, condition, or action indicated by the verb. The definition of the modal verb is classified into two. The first third of the definition that the modal verb conveys is that the modal verb emphasizes the definition of the verb. The speaker reveals the perspective in the way to emphasize that the definition of the verb was or is actualized with the application of the modal verb. The modal verb describes the determined past or the determining present. So the modal verb conveys the intention of the speaker to emphasize the determined or determining experience, condition, or action. The way that the speaker emphasizes the definition of the verb means to reveal the perspective of the speaker, who puts a huge importance on the experience, condition, or action that was actualized in the past or that is actualized at the present. The reason why the speaker emphasizes the definition of the verb is that the speaker thinks the experience, condition, or action is important. So the modal verb reveals the perspective of the speaker about what is important. The modal verb is applied with the second reason. The speaker reveals the perspective in the way to assume the actualization of the experience, condition, or action indicated by the verb with the application of the modal verb. Let's think about the assumption. The assumption is that the speaker considers an experience, a condition, or action that was or is not actualized as actualized if the experience, condition, or action is actualized. The speaker cannot assume the actualization of the experience, condition, or action. The way that the speaker assumes the actualization of the experience, condition, or action means to reveal the perspective of the speaker who considers the actualization to be true, even though it is not true, and states the clause. The emphasis and the assumption by the modal verb reveal the perspective of the speaker in common. The emphasis deals with the experience, condition, or action that actualized or actualizes. The assumption, the experience, condition, or action that was not actualized or is not actualized, but the similarity between two definitions is that the emphasis and the assumption conveys the perspective of the speaker in a clause. Let's study the role of the modal verb. The speaker applies the modal verb to reveal the assumption about the future, the emphasis about the experience, condition, or action that is actualized at the present, the assumption about the present, the emphasis about the experience, condition, or action that actualized in the past, and the assumption about the past that the different condition with the present. The definition of the reason why the modal verb is applied in a clause is classified as two: the emphasis and the assumption. The roles of the modal verb are classified into 5 that specifies the reason why the modal verb is applied. Distinguished by the tense. We will study the tense revealed by the modal verb instead of the verb is determined differently by the search of the modal verb about whether the modal verb is applied to emphasize the definition of the verb or to assume the actualization of the experience, condition, or action indicated by the verb. The tense of the clause that a modal verb is applied is determined by the definition of the modal verb. The modal verb that emphasizes the determined or determining experience, condition, or action signifies the time when the definition of the verb actualized or actualizes. The modal verb that conveys the assumption of the speaker reveals the time when the speaker assumes the actualization of, because the assumption deals with the experience, condition, or action that was not actualized or is not actualized for real. The tense revealed by the modal verb to emphasize the definition of the verb signifies the gap between the present when the conversation with the speaker happens and the time when the definition of the verb actualized or actualizes, because the actualization of the experience, condition, or action is true. The modal verb to emphasize the definition of the verb actualized in the past when the conversation with the speaker did not happen does not reveal the information about the subject. The reason why the verb reveals the information about the number of the subject or the role of the subject in the conversation with the speaker is that the subject is present when the conversation with the speaker happens. The concurrency with the conversation is the premise that the speaker provides the listeners the information about the subject, because the speaker wants to help the listeners prioritize the importance of the clause. So, the speaker who applies the modal verb to emphasize the past experience, condition, or action does not reveal the information about the number of the subject or the role of the subject in the conversation with the speaker. There are two clauses. You did tell us the truth. He did tell us the truth. The common point of these clauses is that the transitive verb tell stays within its original form, because the modal verb did to emphasize the action indicated by the transitive verb tell reveals the information about the tense when the action actualized. The speaker who does not want to emphasize the past action indicated by the transitive verb tell integrates the modal verb did and the transitive verb tell into told. So we can know that the separation of the modal verb did and the transitive verb tell, that the speaker wants to emphasize the past action. The transitive verb tell to indicate the action actualized in the past does not reveal the information about the number of the subject and the role of the subject in the conversation with the speaker. That happens at the present, because the modal verb did emphasizes the definition of the transitive verb tell. The information about the number of the subject and the role of the subject in the conversation with the speaker is provided by the speaker with the purpose for the listeners to prioritize the experience, condition, or action actualized at the present. When the conversation with the speaker happens, the modal verb that is applied to emphasize the experience, condition, or action actualized at the present when the conversation with the speaker happens reveals the information about the number of the subject and the role of the subject in the conversation with the speaker, as well as the tense. The speaker who wants to convey a clause that a modal verb to emphasize the definition of the verb is applied reveals the information about the subject. There are two clauses. You do tell us the truth. he does tell us the truth. The form of the modal verb do, does, reveals the information about the number of the subject and the role of the subject in the conversation with the speaker. The form of the modal verb do reveals that the number of the subject is plural, or the role of the subject is a participant in the conversation with the speaker. The verb does not reveal the same information. The transitive verb tell to indicate the action that is actualized at the present when the conversation with the speaker happens stays in the original form, because the modal verb do or does emphasizes the definition of the transitive verb tell. The modal verb does reveals the information that the number of the subject is singular and the subject is not the participant in the conversation with the speaker instead of the transitive verb tell. The tense that the modal verb applied for the actualization of the experience, condition, or action indicated by the verb reveals the gap between the present when the conversation with the speaker happens and the time when the speaker assumes the experience, condition, or action indicated by the verb to be actualized. So we do not consider we just considered the time when the speaker starts to assume an experience, a condition, or an action.